in-house today, I have special guest Tim Corrigan, Routt County Commissioner. Tim, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really good, Eric. Thanks for asking. It's a beautiful day outside, and I'm here in office in Steamboat. I've been mostly working from home, but it's good to get into the office a couple of days a week and see some folks that you don't get to see as much as you'd like to. Zoom conferences are fine, but it's not the same as actually interacting with folks here in town.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, we're right here doing it. It'd be so nice to be able to sit down with a guest and actually interview them face to face. Speaking of which, when am I going to be able to do that again?
Well, right now, I suppose we could have a face-to-face interview, but uh, we'd be wearing masks, and it might be hard for those of us that are a little bit hard of hearing. It's nice to be able to see and read lips.
I've been told that I have a face for radio, not a face for broadcast, but a mask would help with that.
Sure, you bet.
So what else is going on? I just read something that said that we're allowed to gather in groups of 50 or more. Can you speak to that?
Well, to be clear, what has happened is the Board of County Commissioners has instructed our public health director to prepare a variance request to the state of Colorado that will allow us to have folks gather up to 50 people inside and up to 100 outside. And as it stands right now, the governor's safer at home order limits gatherings to 10 or less. We already have a variance request that was approved by the state that allows restaurants to have larger groups of people. But this is a new variance request that would apply to all other activities other than restaurants. And to be clear, you're not allowed to do that yet. We have not actually sent in the variance request yet. We don't expect to do so until Tuesday of next week. And then we can expect to wait anywhere from 3 to 10 days, say, to get approval from the state.
All right. So we send that to them, they approve it, and then what's the next steps from there?
As soon as the variance request is approved, at that very point in time, there's no other action required. The gathering limits would be increased.
Things seem to be going quite well, but in your opinion, how has the initial reopening been going so far?
Well, I suppose it depends on who you talk to, Eric. I think there's a number of people in this community that think that we should not allow any kind of reopening and that we need to keep a clamp on this and until we've completely stamped out COVID-19. I think there's also a group of people that think that we shouldn't have any restrictions at all and that we should open up the community completely to all activities. I do believe that the large majority of people agree with the middle of the road course that we, as the Routt County Commissioners, are pursuing, which is slowly reopening in incremental phases and then monitoring what the effects of these lifting of restrictions are and seeing if we're prepared to go ahead and take another step forward. I will say you're right. It seems like we're doing really, really well. We have a very, very low disease prevalence in Routt County. And I think we owe a great bit of thanks to our constituents and the people who live here at Steamboat and Routt County for really doing a great job of doing what's necessary to social distance, to stay at home as much as possible, and help us achieve that success.
Can you speak to how the county will proceed if the requests to continue reopening or opening is approved?
Yeah, at yesterday's Board of Public Health meeting, we agreed upon moving forward in several steps. And this first step was the step where we're going to 50 people gathered inside and 100 people gathered outside. Uh, Tentatively, we've agreed that we would do that for 30 days and see what it looks like. And I believe the next step would be opening up outdoor or indoor to 100 people and as many as 175 people outside. Try to do that for a month. And then after that, we would be looking at gathering limits up to 250 people.
I feel like we're staring at the finish line. It's not too far off in the distance, and it feels great to be on this side of the bell curve. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think I would generally agree. It feels like we're in a much better place. It was really gratifying to me today to look out the window of my office at Lincoln Avenue and see quite a number of people walking up and down the street, shopping, a lot of traffic moving up and down Lincoln Avenue. So that feels really good. But I do think there's a lot that we don't know. We have been living here in Routt County. I like to call it, we've been living on an island since March, where the economy was shut down in a very large way. We had very few visitors coming in and out of the county. And the blockade's being lifted now, and we're going to start seeing a lot more people coming into our community from other parts of Colorado and around the country. And that's a calculated risk. Frankly, my expectation is that we will see an increase in disease prevalence, but I'm highly hopeful that as long as our citizens and our visitors continue to observe mask wearing and social distancing and getting tested for COVID-19, that we will be able to keep that increase to a minimum.
I know it, and with those restrictions in place, I do feel more comfortable going out. It's not. I feel uncomfortable going out, but it's this. I feel like my sentiment is shared in like this. Yeah, we're allowed to, but should I kind of state? It's so weird, isn't it? All of it. It's just so weird.
Yeah, it has been amazingly challenging for so many people, and I really feel, especially for the business owners that have had their business plans pretty much devastated because of these restrictions. And I'm as anxious as anybody else to move forward as quickly as we reasonably can to get these businesses back up and running. I mean, you don't really have a really good, strong community if you don't have good, strong businesses that are able to operate profitably.
I agree. I have many friends who own businesses locally, and I have many friends who work in these businesses locally, and it's hurting everybody. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for everyone to just go back to what we considered to be normal before COVID-19.
We have a responsibility, people like you and me, to go out and eat, to go and buy things from our local businesses, to support those businesses. Because again, without those businesses, we really don't have a community.
And right here in Routt County, again, it is our friends, it's our family members who own these restaurants, these clothing companies, these all businesses around town. We don't have too many big name businesses here. It's all we keep it local and for a reason. Can you tell me what the county is doing in the immediate time to adjust to the loss of revenue during these times?
Yeah, great question, Eric. So we've asked our finance director to put together some projections of what we think our revenue losses will be, especially for the current budget year 2020 that ends in December. They're pretty big numbers. We're looking anywhere from $3 to $5 million shortfall in budgeted revenues. We're looking at a number of different things that we can do to address that. We've instituted a hiring freeze, and we've looked very carefully at a lot of our capital expenditures for this year. And I think that we will be able to make up most of that shortfall by delaying some capital expenditures. There'll be some roads that don't get paved this year There'll be some big pieces of equipment that don't get replaced. We feel comfortable doing that because our capital asset program is in really good shape. We do not anticipate dipping into any reserves at this time.
In wrapping things up, I'm just curious, is there anything else that you think that you would like to share with the public?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to try to get to a place where we can get beyond the doom and gloom. I'm generally a pretty optimistic person, and I think sometimes we all have a tendency to think about what the worst case scenarios are going to be. And again, seeing some signs of life around the community here, I'm hopeful that things will not be as bad as some people have predicted. And I'm hopeful that you and I, Eric, will be able to sit face to face and maybe share a beer and look back on this and say, wow, remember how tough that was? But look at how we came out of it. Look how we were resilient as individuals and as businesses and as a community, and that we may even find some new opportunities and new ways to do business.
Tim, I couldn't agree more. I look forward to that day when our beer glass is half full. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. Thank you for taking time. Everybody, that was Tim Corrigan. He's our Routt County Commissioner, and we'll be right back after this break.